The alleged killers of international race car driver Enzo Pastor faced inquest proceedings today after they were nabbed in separate entrapment operations. Yumi Lugod reports to us from the Justice Department. Go ahead, Yumi.
My suspects for the Enzo Pastor slay have undergone inquest proceedings at the Department of Justice today following their arrest. Inquest proceedings began at 9 this morning. Suspects PO2 Edgar Angel and Domingo de Guzman were both presented to State Prosecutor Susan Villanueva. Both suspects were charged with frustrated murder and murder. De Guzman will also face charges of illegal possession of firearms. Charges against De Guzman will be submitted for resolution to determine if there is probable cause, according to Attorney Salvador Panelo, the legal counsel of Enzo. In the meantime, charges against PO2 Angel will have to undergo preliminary investigation after he has waived his detention. Aside from Panelo, those present during the inquest proceedings were the father of Enzo, Tomas Pastor, witness Paulo Salazar, who was with Enzo when the incident happened, and CIDG NCR Chief Senior Superintendent Roberto Fajardo. Both suspects will remain under custody of the Quezon City Police District Criminal Investigation and Detection Unit at Camp Karingal. PO2 Edgar Angel was arrested in a buy-bust operation in Libis over the weekend. He later on admitted that he was hired by businessman Domingo Sandy de Guzman to kill the car racer in exchange of 100,000 pesos. On Tuesday, de Guzman, the alleged mastermind for shooting Pastor, was arrested in an entrapment operation. The QCPD is now also eyeing Pastor's wife, Dalia Guerrero, as a primary suspect for Enzo Pastor's death. Mai?
All right, that was Yumi Lugod reporting to us from the DOJ. Months before a projected power shortfall, the Energy Department celebrates National Energy Consciousness Month. Christine de Guzman reports to us from the DOE to get an update on various issues on power. Hi, Chris, go ahead.
The Energy Department calls for more participation among the public to practice energy conservation. In a press briefing, Energy Secretary Jericho Petilla said Filipinos have a very low awareness when it comes to energy savings. The department estimates that the current energy conservation practice of Filipinos redounds to just less than 100 megawatts of savings every day. But if more people participate, the DOE says energy efficiency could play a major role when a projected supply shortfall hits the country next summer. The department said it is set to release information campaigns on energy-efficient practices by January next year. Meantime, Secretary Petilla eyes a 450 million peso budget to subsidize costs for the interruptible load program. Petilla said the source of the fund is still unclear, but the government may tap contingency funds to shoulder the added cost. Mai?
Thank you, Christine de Guzman, reporting from the Energy Department. The Supreme Court tackles today the constitutionality of the controversial Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement with the U.S. AC Nichols reports from the Supreme Court. Hi, AC.
That's right. My parties in cases questioning the legality of the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement will lay down their arguments on the bilateral deal before the Supreme Court this afternoon. The petitioners will have 30 minutes to present their case against the EDCA. Two sets of petitioners want the EDCA struck down, a group led by former Senators Rene Saguisag and Wilberto Tañada, and a group led by the Makabayan bloc of party list representatives. Acting Solicitor General Florin Hilbay, representing government respondents, will also be given 30 minutes to defend the EDCA. The EDCA is an agreement between the U.S. and the Philippines allowing American troops more access to Philippine military facilities. It seeks to further carry out the 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty, also allowing the U.S. to construct its own facilities and pre-position defense and disaster supplies. The bilateral deal was signed last April 28, hours before U.S. President Barack Obama arrived in the country for a 2-day state visit. Now, among the points of discussion later is whether the EDCA should be considered a treaty or an international agreement that would require Senate approval. The High Court also seeks to resolve whether provisions of the EDCA on the presence of U.S. military personnel and equipment are already covered in previous treaties. Also to be tackled is the issue on the, quote, agreed locations of detention of American troops facing charges in the Philippines as stated in the EDCA. The petitioners are convinced that such provisions will prevent the Philippine government from gaining custody over U.S. troops accused of crimes in the country. Now, in a related development, the Supreme Court denied a petition filed by the family of slain transgender woman Jennifer Laude seeking to participate in EDCA cases for lack of merit. A U.S. Marine is the primary suspect in the controversial murder case, but the High Court found the pendency of criminal proceedings and issues unrelated to EDCA. Meantime, militant groups earlier held a protest against EDCA outside the Supreme Court. The debate on the EDCA is set to begin at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Mai?
Thanks, AC. AC Nichols reporting from the High Court. It's been reported the past days that slain Filipino transgender woman Jennifer Laude has a German boyfriend or fiancé. Now that fiancé arrived this morning in Manila to attend her wake. Ivy Saunar is reporting to us from the NAIA. What can you tell us, Ivy?
Mark Schwesselbeck, the German boyfriend of transgender woman Jennifer Laude, has arrived here at the NAIA Terminal 1 at 11:40 this morning on board Malaysia Airlines flight MH806. Schwesselbeck said he is now heading to Olongapo to pay his last respects to Laude and will be staying in the country until Sunday, October 26. He said he feels tired after all that has happened and his only wish is to see Laude. He also said that he is blaming some people for the tragedy, including the German embassy, who initially did not approve Laude's visa application. Mai?
Ivy, did the German fiancé say if he was going to attend tomorrow's preliminary investigation on the Slay case? Ivy?
Yes, Mai.
Did Jennifer Laude's fiancé say if he's going to attend tomorrow's preliminary investigation on the case that's set at the Olongapo City Prosecutor's Office?
It was just a short ambush interview. Although he did not discuss that matter to us, he said he is willing to give more statement once he arrives in Olongapo.
Okay, thank you, Ivy, reporting to us from the NAIA. Welcome back. We have this just in. The Sandigan Bayan junks the plunder case filed against former Agriculture Undersecretary Jok Bolante. AC Nichols has more reporting from the Anti-Graft Court. Hi, AC.
The Sandigan Bayan 2nd Division finds insufficient evidence against former Agriculture Undersecretary Jok Bolante. In a plunder case, he is facing in connection with an alleged fertilizer fund scam. In a resolution issued this morning, the court said it found no probable cause to file plunder against Bolante and co-accused former Agriculture Secretary Luis Tito Lorenzo over the 728 million peso fertilizer fund scam. Based on the evidence submitted so far, the court says the prosecution failed to establish that the accused pocketed some 50 million pesos. The court says it could already order the dismissal of the present case. However, it does not want to ignore, quote, glaring badges of irregularities in the use of fertilizer funds. The court is giving the Office of the Ombudsman 60 days to submit additional evidence to prove the accused are guilty of amassing ill-gotten wealth. The Ombudsman filed under charges against Bolante and Lorenzo in 2011 over the alleged diversion of 728 million pesos in fertilizer funds to the campaign of former President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo in 2004. Earlier this year, the Ombudsman dismissed a graft complaint against the former president in connection with the scam. Mai?
Thank you, AC. That was AC Nichols reporting from the Sandigan Bayan on the developments in the fertilizer fund scam. Welcome back. The Armed Forces of the Philippines stands by the decision of its peacekeeping team in the Golan Heights to defy instructions from a United Nations commander. The Filipino soldiers claim they were ordered to surrender their weapons to Syrian rebels just before they managed to escape their adversaries. David Santos reports.
A day after Filipino peacekeepers outsmarted Syrian rebels, ending a two-day standoff at the Golan Heights, Armed Force Chief Greg Katapang spoke to them through video conference on Monday.
At the onset, let me say we are proud of your service to the global peace.
Sharing a light moment, Katapang even talked about making a movie out of the troops' daring escape.
Gagawa ng pelikula, sinong gusto mong artista na gagampanan sa'yo?
Si Coco Martin, sir.
The AFP chief was speaking to Army Captain Nilo Ramones, who was among the remaining 40 troops who came under fire in Post 68. Ramones briefly narrated how they fled under the cover of darkness before midnight Saturday Syrian time after engaging the rebels in a firefight for 7 hours. Another team of Filipino peacekeepers stationed at Post 69 was rescued by Irish troops earlier in the day.
Kahit na po may mga landmines po yung dinaanan namin, pero alam naman po namin na saan banda yung landmines nakalagay. Diretso lang po yung lakad namin. Ang lakad po namin mga 1 hour and 30 minutes bago po kami nakarating doon sa nag-aantay po namin ng mga kasamahan po namin, ma'am.
But the light mood inside the AFP war room turned a bit sour when Katapang made a revelation. The head of the UN forces in Golan Heights reportedly wanted the Filipino troops to surrender their firearms to the rebels. This was a huge contrast to the troops' decision to hold their ground.
Kasi gustong isave ni UNDOF Commander yung PG at the expense of the Philippines. Hindi natin kasalanan na hostage sila. What I was telling the UNDOF Commander is save first the Philippines and then we will help save the PGians later.
Lieutenant General Iqbal Singh Singha of India is the current commander of the UN Disengagement Observer Force or UNDOF, the multinational security force mediating in the buffer zone between Syria and Israel. Apparently, Singha wanted the Filipino troops to yield as a sign of goodwill to Syrian rebels who are holding more than 40 Fijian troops hostage.
Yung una, sabi, i-surrender ang firearms para marilibre yung PG. Ngayon, nag-ceasefire, nag-negotiate yung UNDOF doon sa mga rebels. Ang bagong order is surrender namin ang firearms namin para sa safe passage ng sundalo. Nagkaputukan na. And then, pag inatake daw kami, itaas na lang yung white flag. Ako, hindi pwede yun. Dahil, ibig sabihin, ma-hostage na rin yung mga sundalo natin.
Defense and foreign affairs officials who were holed up for hours inside Camp Aguinaldo monitoring the Golan Heights crisis supported the decision of the Filipino troops to defy Singha. They insist under UN guidelines, national interests will have to prevail even if the decision could have consequences on the Philippines' relations to the world body.
It can affect, but they have to understand that the safety of our soldiers is of primordial importance. It prevails over and above the Fijian situation.
Military sources said it was tension-filled situation inside the war room since Philippine officials were united in resisting Singha's order. With the defiance, the AFP carried out an escape mission for its troops. No one was harmed while they kept their firearms. Katapang says Singha's actions during the crisis should be investigated. David Santos, 9 News.